Countdown 5 seconds. Oh, we're live. There's no countdown.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of AI Amigos Show. My name is Marina, and I'm very happy to be here with Shenchao and James, who actually taught me that live presentations go always wrong. How are you doing, guys?
Who taught you that?
I don't know, like a friend of mine who actually delivered a workshop with me once.
Oh, right. I
This
thought
is
it was maybe something Chao said.
this
Well,
live
this is
blooming.
this is my friend. This is my friend Shenchao. He actually delivered a workshop with me, and I remember he told me, "Okay, something goes wrong. No, don't panic because live presentations go always wrong." It was just a joke, guys. For the 5 seconds that they said there was no countdown, we were already live.
Oh, right.
So happy Workers' Day, guys! How are you doing?
Maybe they're enjoying their day off.
Yeah,
Well,
we're working.
You're working for me.
But this is the funny part, right? I didn't know this until not long ago. Like Ireland and UK don't have this, and Spain has this, Germany has this. They all have a day off, but Ireland and UK doesn't have this.
I know, but it's not just here in Europe, in Latin America as well. There are just a couple of days in Argentina that everything is closed, and one of them is like the 1st of January. The second one is the 25th of December. The third one is the Workers' Day. So then in this day, like there is no supermarket, nothing, and this is kind of very common, and it
How
extends.
do people eat then? How do they buy things on their day off? Like
Well,
you say,
they
I've got a day
buy,
off.
they buy the day before. As
I
we
wanna
do in
go-
Germany. Here is the same.
It's my day off. I want to catch up on my shopping. I want to do all this, and then you go and it's closed.
Well, but
All the robots come out now.
Robot. I like it.
Think about the workers as well, like who work in the supermarket and so on. They also want to rest.
Does the AI get a day off? Is there going to be an AI worker day? That would be interesting.
Well, I think it will collapse, after the power off, as it was in Spain the other day, that it showed that in a couple of hours everything collapsed. I'm wondering what would happen if we don't have AI for one day.
Well, they didn't have it for that day. Spain, Portugal, and
well, but everything collapsed. So then it actually goes on my theory. But this is not just about the AI. The thing is, nowadays, the good part is that the workers can actually rest and AI is working for them. And one of the cases that we see is what is happening with MCP, for example. This is, at least I see many companies trying to implement, for instance, like chatbots or even voice, support. So then the business doesn't sleep and the support doesn't sleep either. Guys, what can you tell me about this?
Maybe this is our last Workers' Day because AI is going to take our job.
No, that is so fatalist.
Enjoy it while you can, all right? Oh, wait a minute. You forgot something. Today is Jin Chao's birthday.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Happy birthday, John.
Thank you.
Yes.
So next year, this
now-
time will be the International AI Take My Job Day.
Well, now all the audience will know that today is your birthday, so then you can mark on your calendar, and next year at this time, hopefully.
Well, no, he accepts Amazon cards or any kind of gifts, right? Jin Chao, monetary. Yeah, so feel free
I
to
will post
feel
my
free
QR
to pay a
code on
coffee for
here.
him.
put your IBAN up there, Jin Chao. Revolut. They can just Revolut to you.
Well, so no, but seriously, guys, so what I see is that more and more organizations are trying to implement AI, and what I see almost every day is that many people ask me, Marina, what can I do? Okay, so I have a business like a coffee shop, a gym, or I'm doing, I don't know, yoga classes or whatever, and I really want to implement AI somehow because I heard that it's fantastic, but they don't know what to do. And then my main advice, especially if you're a small business, is getting started with a chatbot. Something that you can automate with, and you can train the model with your own information, and this can actually answer for you.
Mhm.
Also, we were talking about that before. Remember last week or the week before, Jinshan, in regards to Google and how they've integrated everything. So now, like their Gemini works with Gmail and works with Google Drive, and it's just all integrated into the day-to-day use of platform, right?
Mm. Yeah, so that seems to be the way to go, right? Really find your audience and then people, the use cases to be
Yeah.
in those AI age. It seems to be the key, other than just implement it into everything. Yeah, you have to find your pinpoint, what you're struggling to do. Yeah.
Well,
So
and this is actually something that I usually try to mention, right? So then about, okay, so what are you struggling to do? What are your pain points? And what they always say is, if you have something, for example, let's say a bot answering for you,
yeah,
then you can actually dedicate the time to do something else.
yeah,
For example, creativity, or developing other skills that you might need for your business as well.
yeah. Oh, what I mean by that, the pinpoint is not like you going to the pub with your friends and next pint you're struggling to go down with. It's not that.
I
That
think
you
James
wanted
will
to
like
do,
that
but
one.
you want AI to do some other stuff.
So is that kind of a pain point you're going to have on your birthday, Jin Chao?
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, it's very interesting now. The landscape. Just talking about today, this week is a big thing about the Quai 3 version 3 come out now as well as open source. They're from Alibaba. It used to be 2.5. Now 3 is coming out. Yeah, it seems like the big model just coming out every week.
Well, what's interesting is they're using AI to improve other AI. I was watching something. Now this was on TikTok. How true it is, or who knows? But how, like for example, like the first one we know out of there was OpenAI.
Yeah.
But how then others like Claude and Anthropic and Perplexity came out, and how their development costs and times are much lower because they're using the AI tools that are there to help them develop much faster. The same thing with DeepSeek. So you say, okay, well, that cost them, say 50 billion. It wasn't that much, but let's just say.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
all the other guys are going to be under $1 billion because they're going to use that 50 billion tool to then create their own.
Yeah. I think somewhere mentioned like this is the Marina's area now. They're using like a Gen AI to create this synthetic data to train the DeepSeek. That was the talk I heard before, which is very interesting, right? So yeah.
Well, so the thing with synthetic data is that, of course, according to the quality of data that you can get in the end, is the result that you will get, right? I remember many companies at the very beginning, when they were kind of simulating, for example, phone numbers, they didn't take into consideration the regions, the areas, so then where these clients are actually from. So then in the moment that they use this to train the models, so the geographical location was actually not considered, because it was any random number. And then with the time, it was actually refined this. I would say, as any AI model and as any machine learning model, so then we can see that now there are a lot of features that we can see. For example, now if you just buy synthetic data from a company, for example, you can actually request, okay, I want this one to be divided, let's say, by states. Or in Germany, for example, so then you have different prefix according to the company that you have your mobile phone from.
So you can build those kind of specific model or like fine tune it, but at the same time, that was kind of like where the bias was introduced, right? Because you have specific region of the data. Remember the time you asked OpenAI, describe a whole day of you on command,
yes,
right? So that could be that there. Yeah.
You're not supposed to talk about that, Jin Chao, which is going to make Marina not very happy.
Well, but it was kind of shocking, right? So then if you think about that and you consider, okay, so describe me, and then it just creates a man, and then when you said, no, I am a woman, and then it creates like a supermodel, it's like, okay, well, no, I don't really look like that. I don't even wear a skirt to go to work. So in this kind of sense, it's the data that you're using, and probably synthetic data is actually going towards some of these paths. I'm not really sure if we can actually be 0% biased at some point. especially because we are crossed by different cultures, right?
But I'd be super interested in how people give us data, and then you can create a synthetic mock-up data, but represent exactly the correlation of the old data. Sometimes you don't want the customer information, but you want to train the model with similar kind of data. So that's quite interesting.
So you want to have the insights, for example, that you can
Yeah.
get from the original data. There is a group of researchers here in Germany that they are creating something like that. They are working in their startup, and then they want to build something like this because they said, okay, the lack of data is a problem for everybody. And what they said is, what if we can actually gain insights from original data, and then we sell the insights instead of selling the data, or instead of selling the synthetic data only? And I was thinking, this is a brilliant idea, but how will you do that? So how will you implement it? How you can really use, for example, in let's say if I'm coding, right, or if I am deploying a model, so how can I really use only the insights? I'm not really sure if we can, or we can up to a certain extent, right? So then,
James, have any idea?
Well, I'm just thinking of like synthetic data, like used like in the stock market, right? So like I've seen this before where people generate. So if you want to get, so a lot of times people say, oh, well, I want to generate a model that works on stock market crashes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to get stock market crash data, and then I'm going to make synthetic data to train my model to detect stock market crashes. But I've not seen any of those work.
So this is actually the big deal, but I am pretty sure that at some point we should actually reach something like that, because if synthetic data is not really precise, so then the model will not be accurate enough, and many companies, they are very reluctant on sharing their own information, their own data. They say, no, I don't want to give it away.
So that's the GDPR stuff. If you wanted to actually help some customer, but you can't use their data, so that's where the problem comes, right? But how do you improve if you want something not using your data? I was thinking about, like, I remember this thing in college. I kind of, the heat map kind of like correlation. You get heat map, right? And maybe the synthetic data, the heat map has to match exactly like the old one. And so you can see is, those are the two kind of similar representation of the old data. I don't know, which is very interesting.
Well, yes. The only thing is, I feel that even though the technology is progressing so much, the bases are still the same. James shared with us a meme that shows, like, okay, before it was statistics, then you cover with a little frame and it is machine learning, and then you cover like with another frame and this is AI. So then
what you call it AI, and it fills the room. That was what funny. It's the same thing, but you call it AI and the room fills.
Well, but anyway, so then AI is actually based on probabilities. If you remember when we studied like about the agents and how the agent moves and what were the chances, for example, that the agent jumps to the fire or goes to the let's say the end of the road, it was actually moving according to probabilities. So it says, okay, if I move up, for example, I have like the end of my road. But if I move to the right, so then maybe I have the fire. So then instead of actually just moving one step, because I have high chances to actually go to the fire, we go all the way around. So then you need to actually work on this to train the agent to improve it, afterwards. And I believe that this kind of basic example is as well happening in other stuff that we can see, and even with the chatbots. When we have chatbots, for example, and you want to train them, and the chatbot answers, all right, so then is it actually taking the data that you are training this with? And if your client doesn't want to share the data with you for you to actually train it, and this data is coming, let's say, from OpenAI or DeepSeek or whatever, the answer could be like something that you never know. And it's not like the model is hallucinating, it's using another data to be trained.
Yeah, come back to the MCP problem now. Like we have to kind of explain to our audience what really MCP is. It's a protocol, basically, right? So you heard all those agents can do a lot of amazing things. Basically, it's a program underneath it to connect to the different stuff. So now the MCP is a protocol, like, okay, a common language everybody speaks to English, let's say, easy to understand. And then now, so because the common language, a lot of other systems can talk to your MCP. Basically, you created a server, in some case, you can connect to it and do amazing stuff. So that's kind of extent of you reach ability for AI. So in this case, WhatsApp, you can connect it to different systems. You can connect to Google Calendars. You can, in the AWS, oh, sorry, in the WhatsApp, you can type in what's my emails and all that sort of amazing stuff at the moment. So that's
Totally, totally. And the best part is that now you not only you have reminders, but only you can create directly your calendar. Say, okay, I want to set it up. I want to create, my I was about to talk in German. Oh my God, my appointment. I was saying, like, you can create your termin, so you can create your appointment, and then you don't need just the reminder. It is in your calendar right away. Guys, we have a comment from one of our followers here. Thank you so much, our audience that is interacting with us. Well, asking for translations. So here, well, some of our audience ask if we can show the content in other languages. Maybe we can actually work on that. That would be actually cool.
Fish with white eyes. That's interesting. Well, if you go to the next comment there, Jinchao, you'll see there it is. Apparently, I guess that's an orange.
There it is. There it is. Well,
Bobby's got orange hands.
Anyway, so thank you so much for attending. Anyway, even if you cannot really follow entirely, but we will try to work out something around, and then maybe we can actually share this in other languages, or maybe AI at a certain point can do this for us. Why not?
Yeah, probably would be difficult to do live, but there are definitely a way to do recordings. We can
with recordings, yes, we can download the transcript and then
I've seen some apps that actually do it live. Now, what I'm saying by that, it's on your phone, an app on your phone where you can talk into it and it translates live. But I mean, here it's not built into StreamYard. It's not built in where you're listening and you're hearing, we're speaking in English and they're hearing it.
And then it appears in another language. Yeah. Well, but I'm pretty sure anyway that at some point it will actually come, and then I will know how to learn German anymore. So, I can use it, along the way.
The universal translator, like on Star Trek, right? You just automatically translates everything.
Wow. Why not? Why not? It doesn't sound that bad.
I'm not saying no. I'm just saying it's coming. So what happens to that worker that used to translate now no longer has a job?
Or
that's a news for tomorrow, not for today.
Supervise them.
Worker day.
Well, at a certain point, guys, I always believe that we need supervision, right? So we need to monitor what the machines are doing. We cannot just let it go. Of course, it actually helps a lot and reduce a lot the time that is used, for example, for repetitive tasks, or even the person who is translating, as James said. But we need still someone who can actually understand whether this is actually correct or not. Review, recheck, refine.
The problem is the speed of it. And I remember, we did like a trading algo, and it was like, we put in the algorithm to do the trades, and it was just going so fast. And it was like, oh, is it doing the right trade? How are we going to unwind it? And it was just going very, very quickly. So, that's the thing with AI is that, at this point, it's not, we don't have the super intelligence which we talked about the other day. but it's just the speed. We don't have it yet anyway, but it's the speed that it does things.
But you also need a kind of jailbreak version, right? Because like James, you mentioned the last one, I think the show I was on, right, last week's.
I wanted you to come in, but Marina said no. So
Come on.
You see, the AI, the model now is all kind of very positive, right? Tell you
Yeah.
what you wanted to listen. But if you wanted to see some bad stuff, basically they can translate for you.
Yeah.
You need a jailbreak version to completely translate every single thing this person was saying.
True.
So you heard a lot of beep or something.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the complexity of language is very, very difficult in regards to there's things that's said within language that are within contexts, within cultures and societies, and even subcultures and sub-societies. So even if you think, like, for example, even just the English language, where there's countries around the world that speak English, but words that are the same word mean different things, or phrases, or sayings. Like when I got here, one of the sayings is like they say, "Bob's your uncle," and I'm like, "Who's Bob? And why is he my uncle?" And the other one was "your man." "Oh, your man," and I'm like, "He's not my man." Your man, your man. So I've been saying like that. I mean, obviously those things can be picked up by AI. I'm sure that in some sort of memory, but as cultures evolve, and I'm sure like even in China, I know that one of the things, like when you look at languages, where in the U.S., Americans are very direct. You have to be very direct.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm not gonna say sarcasm, but like indirect stuff so that you understand things.
Yeah.
And what in Chinese culture is one of those things where there's like things that are said that are not said, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So we don't like to say things straight away to your face. So it kind of like a hidden layer, second layer. We say something, doesn't mean that straight away. You have to think about what does that mean, the next layer. So it's a lot of those hints going on.
It's a kind of, you get what I mean.
I'm an overthinker. I'm already an overthinker, Chinchilla. That would just do my head in. Like,
Because sometimes there's a lot of those. So a lot of those in business as well. When they talk about something, it's not really something you have to think about. Direct is more. It's easier to understand for sure. More direct than before.
But that's what I'm saying. How does the AI then pick up on that? Because we're just talking about one language.
It's really hard.
Spanish, same thing.
And the same,
Yeah, surprisingly, like, sorry to cut in. Surprisingly, like I said that before. If you do Chinese language, DeepSeek is a lot better than OpenAI. If you do,
language, right?
Yeah, if you do a kind of using writing or something, OpenAI is better than DeepSeek in English. You can see the difference. You can see the difference, especially a professional, or you wanted output to be a bit better, to be more professional, to be more kind in English. OpenAI or Claude or any other model trained on English mainly is better than DeepSeek. So that's how
now we're talking about here, as we talked about earlier, Marina was saying bias. Yeah. Here we have models that are biased to a language.
Yeah. It's because it's impossible actually not to have it or have it 0%. It's like, it's not feasible. And I know that many people will actually disagree with me, but imagine the situation, right? So then I always picture this. When I lived with my parents and my sister, my mom asked, "What do you want to eat tonight?" And then I said, "Okay, I want, I don't know, milanesas." And my father, "I want pasta." And my sister, "Okay, I want pasta too." And my mom, "Oh, but I don't feel like pasta. And I don't feel like the other one either." So then if you cannot agree in something that simple as preparing a meal, so imagine in, more complicated stuff, or even with the language, right? So then, and it happens, I am not a native speaker. And sometimes when James talked to me and he just throw like a joke or sarcasm, I don't get it, so then in English.
What I understood from that story was that you guys ate whatever your mom said. That's what I understood from that story. Right? Well, I want pasta, I want sandwich. I don't want that. I'm going to make this. And I'm thinking, then why did she even ask you? She should have just told you, this is what's for dinner tonight.
but this is actually but this is actually the point. So then you can't really train the machine and prepare it to actually answer in different language and stuff, but there are things that are underlined where my point here is we will always need human behind it. I don't really think that the machines will take over entirely, but they really do think that we need to learn how to use AI to keep up with our jobs. And this is like for everybody in general.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that point, kind of like the machine do have a level of understanding the meaning, not directly, but the meaning behind the word. For example, I know in DeepSeek is like you talk in Chinese term is like sometimes it outputs something, right? And then this is totally not what you wanted. And then you type in like, come on, bro, or something like that. It gives you a better prompt. So that's some level. You're trying to understand the frustration or the meaning behind it. It's not directly, right? So I seen people try that on OpenAI as well. It kind of work. So that's got me thinking. It might understand. It might know more than we thought they know.
Yeah.
Probably yes. All right, guys, we're reaching. Oh, sorry.
One last thing just there is this: it's because there's patterns, and it recognizes the patterns in us, in our language. I was, it's the saying is like, we're all unique, right? Just like everyone else. So I'll end with that.
and this is kind of philosophic, so then okay, let's leave it with this and we can discuss it next week. Guys, thank you so much for joining on the Workers Day. It was amazing to have you. It was really great to have our audience here and some comments as well. Shanchao, I wish you a lovely rest of the day. Enjoy your birthday.
We're gonna have more cake now.
In the pub. Enjoy your pain point at the pub, all right?
Oh yeah.
And guys, I'm looking forward to our next episode next week. Have a great day.
See you guys.
And